Oh, what's this? Oh, it's just a token. It's just a favor bequeathed unto me by my maiden. You wouldn't know her. She goes to the realm of Canada. Anyway, okay, so what are we working on? Today, I am going to be taking a break from a very tedious crafting project that I've been toiling away at, which I could feel myself starting to get burned out. So, I took a little detour and crafted this thing that you are about to see me having crafted. Anyway, alright, this is the questing yeast, which is the main quarry, the thing that you are hunting in an untitled Turnip28 RPG by Lork, which I've recently become obsessed with this idea, the concept of the Turnip28 RPG, but we'll get into that later. Alright, let's just start doing the crafting now. I was cleaning out the shed with me mother when I came across these old childhood toys that were about to either get thrown out or donated. So I figured I would try the thing where I use them to make a kit bash. Here I am just giving them a wash to get anything off that I can, which was basically nothing. Okay, then I applied some surgical incision marks with a Sharpie, and then I'll break out the old Dremel to cut them in half, which I am utterly terrified of this thing. I hate it. I wanted to buy some cut-proof gloves for it, but every single person on Reddit said that's actually even more dangerous and will cause the thing to rip all the skin on your hand off. So I think you just have to accept one way or another. If you're going to use the Dremel, you're going to lose some fingers. It's just unavoidable. Exacto time. I am slicing off all the made in China text logo things and trying to remove as much of the mold line as I possibly can. And from there, it's a pretty straightforward, just glue them together, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so what is a questing beast? Well, it is a monster from Arthurian legend. Once upon a time, there was a princess who had sex with the devil. Then she was discovered to be pregnant, and she blamed it on her brother forcing himself on her. So King Dad threw the brother to a pack of dogs, and before he got torn to pieces, he curses his sister and says that her child is going to make the same sound as these dogs. And she then gives birth to this monster. It has the neck of a serpent, the body of a leopard, the hooves of a hart, and the buttocks of a lion. AKA, it was basically the medieval telephone game version of a giraffe. So what happens to the questing beast? Well, Sir Palladimes what? Sir Palladimes, both of these nuts in your mouth, I got him! Alright, just kidding. Sir Palladimes the Saracen, he is on a quest to slay the questing beast. But he is a heathen pagan and he's incapable of doing the job. But then he converts to Christianity, and through the power of Jesus, he is finally able to lay low the beast once and for all. And remember, there is very famously only one single true canon in Arthurian myth. So if anyone tries to tell you that this is wrong and the myth is actually something else, they're lying to you. They have an agenda. Don't believe a word that they say. Let's talk about the Swollen Maglet, the official magazine of Turnip28. There are 2 issues right now, but, you know, the second issue had a super limited release, and they sell for like $500 on eBay. Fortunately, some kind soul put the first issue for free on the internet. And there are some great tutorial articles in here about how to make moldy fungus stalks and green stuff mushrooms. So I'm going to try my hand at my version of these techniques and see how they play out. Epoxy Sculpt. Every time I finish sculpting with this, it feels like I've learned something about its properties and how to sculpt better with it. And then the next time I open it up, everything I learned is out the window. I'm back to square one. The frustration, the failure, the disappointment, it all just starts to bubble up. Fortunately, I was able to catch it and bottle it up, and I powered through the project. Mushroom caps are now almost fully cured and are getting glued into place. Sand texture gel. This continues to be the only expensive version of a cheap product that I maintain is worth it. Oh, you want to hear my take on wildebeesties? Well, I knew you were going to ask that. For this guy in particular, I really wanted to keep his eyes the way they were. Those little shiny black beads. Lifeful, not like a doll's eyes. You know, that really accentuate the innocent prey nature of this animal. Because there's another version of the questing beast which paints a much friendlier picture of it. Still directly connected to Jesus though. But this one, it's a scared animal that comes to Percival for help when its 12 babes inside of its bellies go crazy and start eating it and killing the mother from the inside out. But I digress. Wildebeest. Why is it spelled like that? Well, like every other silly word, you can blame the Dutch. They are fundamentally a non-serious people. I am making a new game board for Turnip28. Now this 6x4 sheet of insulation foam with a mat has served me well so far, but I was using one of those mats that was made out of that mouse pad material. And it turns out if you let one of those just sit out over the summer in your basement, it causes the mat to melt to the foam. So I had to scrape all of that off before I started applying texture paste. I also tried using 3 of those 2x3 OSB boards, and I was using that for a little bit, but they started to warp pretty badly, which I could have lived with if they all just warped the exact same, but then they decided to all warp slightly differently, so they were all uneven. This new board I think is going to work out great. Only downside is that it is completely untransportable, so at some point I'm going to have to take a saw to this thing and chop it into thirds. This was very fun to make. I got to go full Jackson Pollock, and I just threw a bunch of crap on the board until I was happy with how it looked, which it kind of ended up looking like a moldy piece of bread, but I think for a turnip board that is perfect. Have you ever heard the legend of Hans my Grovelhog? I thought not. It's not a story that Christian Andersen would tell you. It's a Muppet folktale. Basically, there's this ugly hedgehog, and he's sad. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, treatment is simple. Just become a handsome prince. And the hedgehog cries and says, but doctor, I already am a handsome prince. Everybody laugh, roll on snare drum, curtains. Anyway, a great deal of the inspiration for the reason that I wanted to make this guy is because I wanted an excuse to use these sculpts from Leech Lover Laboratory. Having narrative is always something that I'm looking for in any good sculpt, and these guys, they are telling the story of the 4 stages of a night out on a pub crawl, which it's just so good. For one, these guys I feel like are just going to be a necessary part of this build, because they are going to juxtapose size-wise with the questing beast, revealing the true scale of it. And vibe-wise, I like how they sort of give the beast like a natural guardian of the forest, guardian of nature, laid-back, Pan-Dionysus vibe. Don't say I didn't warn ya, because I'm about to go on a quick little ramble about this homebrew Turnip28 RPG project that I have been fiddling around with. The basic concept is that I wanted to take the ideas from Lork's Untitled Turnip28 RPG and then staple it to the rules of Mothership, which I've recently run through a couple of modules playing it, and I have fallen in love with its level of crunch, and there'll also be some useful overlap in that Panic will be a crucial component of both games. Structurally, by default, I'm leaning towards the chivalric romance, so there's a bit of that mythic bastion land in there, but obviously, this world is a farce, it's a joke, it's about turnips. So I think it would be more appropriate to take some inspiration from a farce of the chivalric romance like Don Quixote. And much like how that book was written out of sheer contempt for people who wasted their life consuming word slop, so too will this game be made out of utter enmity for people who play too many RPGs. That is to say, tonally, I'm going to be borrowing heavily from Human-Occupied Landfill, and if you don't know what Human-Occupied Landfill is, don't worry about it. Whenever I finish enough of this project to the point where it's prototypable and playtestable, I will make a 3-hour-long, unedited rant video where I go into excruciating detail about all the various things that I used for inspiration, and I'll explain what it is, and I'll share the Google Doc and all of that. But in short, HOL is just a very mean-spirited goof parody game. Okay, so here's the quirky, cutesy gimmick that I have in mind for the game. Character creation will involve literally constructing a character out of plastic bits and paint, and then the stats on its sheet will conform to WYSIWAG. What you see is what you get. So if your model is holding a musket, he starts the game with a musket. Food and starvation are also going to be huge factors in the game. The world of Sist is a preternaturally damp and soggy place, so even if you salt your jerky and you can your rutabagas, the moisture will find its way in, and all food spoils within a matter of days. So there's a hint to that vampire element where you just need to constantly be looking for people so that you can chop them up and cannibalize their corpses. And instead of having an insanity score that goes up as you fail fear checks, kind of like Warhammer, everyone is already insane. So we're going to do kind of the opposite. So whenever you fail a fear check, instead of running away, you can choose to stay and confront your fear. But you gain a point of gentility whenever you do this. And the higher your gentility, the more you subscribe to traditional soldier values. And you have to more strictly adhere to the code of chivalrousness. So over the course of many battles, you've become a very proud and honorable gentleman who would never dare attack a surrendering foe, but insist that might as well be a death sentence, because the world is populated by scum-sucking scoundrels who will not even hesitate to pretend to surrender just to turn around and whip out a rusty fork and stab you in the kidney. So that is the elevator pitch. There's also an official Turnip28 RPG that is being worked on, but I have not been able to find much of anything about that game. But I am certainly excited to see what comes of it whenever it does come out. As you make trudge down the winding road, the root trees of the root forest thicken with density. The ominous mud squelches under your boots ominously. There's a rumble. You can feel it in the bones of your toes. And from the root trees there comes a ground-shaking note, the demonic bugle cry of an elk. It sends winged spuds scattering skyward from their perches. And pushed aside like tall grass, the trees part. What stands before you bears bones like bronze, limbs like iron rods, its tail a cedar tree. This is the first work of God. The shadow of the behemoth looms over you. Roll for incontinence! Final thoughts. I think the pea and pub crawler is carrying a lot of weight here. It might sound counterintuitive, but I think it's easy to accidentally make your turnip inhabitant look a little too epic. So sometimes you have to insert some lameness and humiliation in order to remind everyone that everyone in this gross world is pathetic in their own way. And I think I'm just going to leave you guys with that. So thank you so much for watching. Fare thee well.